Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going to be talking about the newest project from Sabrina Carpenter called Singular Act 2. Alright, round 2. Shall we? Now, for those of you unawares, this will be my second time covering a Sabrina Carpenter project in less than a year, as I reviewed Act 1 of this series last year in 2018, and to my mild surprise, got a fair amount of traffic and backlash for it. And while some of this might be rooted in me just having heard way too much of this style of pop before, not helped by being stuck on Hollywood records where this sound has been utterly recycled and poorly produced time and time again, there were still blatant parallels to mainstream acts that Sabrina Carpenter was mimicking and not particularly well. And like with most vanity projects, which especially if you consider the content of that last album, it felt like it was made to serve the fan base and pretty much nobody else. But I had to think she could have tried a little bit harder for a little bit more originality than that. But hey, apparently she's still putting out projects, with this being part 2, and folks kept on requesting this even despite the last review, and it was short enough to make this pretty quick while I was crunching through some meatier projects, so alright, fine, what the hell. What do we get from Singular Act 2? Honestly, folks, there's not much to say here. Again, I've said before this is a sort of project that would be destined for the trailing edge, and I'm only really covering it here because it's short and I already covered the first act, but I'm not sure Sabrina Carpenter is going to give me a lot of material going forward. She's probably going to be on the trailing edge if I ever cover her again, because this really does feel like a sequel project that nevertheless falls in the exact same vein as the original. Maybe a little bit better overall, but suffering a broad lack of originality and remaining the sort of flimsy and derivative album that's chasing trends in pop rather than finding some distinctive territory. It's not precisely bad, but it's not all that memorable or good either. And let me make this clear, a big part of this is Sabrina Carpenter and on her, who once again is stepping into the scene with pop vocals that really feel interchangeable, husky, more pitchy than they should be, and clearly chasing more of Camila Cabello's tones than ever before, which, given how inconsistent and underwhelming of a singer that she is, might not be the best act to follow. Now, granted, some of that trap-leaning multi-tracking and the vocal overdub seems kind of close to what Ariana Grande has been doing recently, and that is a step in a better direction until you realize that if you're comparing presence or vocal mixing or any level of production quality, even if I was lukewarm on Ariana's last album, Thank You Next, she's in a different weight class than Sabrina Carpenter, and being derivative, it's not the big problem here. It's being starkly underwhelming in comparison, where when Sweetie steps up to the mic on I Can't Stop Me, Sabrina Carpenter might have a slightly better mic pickup, but nowhere close to the same charisma or hunger, and that's a problem when you're trying to inspire some sort of unique personality or emotional investment in all this. Now, to her credit, if you're gonna lean into spare sensuality and cooing R&B vocals like on Tell 'Em or the desaturated ballad Exhale, it is a more natural and slightly more inviting tone for her, certainly in comparison with the overly compressed pickups on her attempts at dance songs. And I do think there are more natural sounding vocal lines here that might be a bit more appealing, but in comparison with a ton of the production, which sounds devoid of melody, canned, and really cheap, especially on the lead-off single Pushin' 20 that of course was produced by Oak, and he's become a real bane for me. Yes, it's more understandable given what's popular now, but I didn't let Ariana Grande off the hook for this, and I'm sure as I'm not going to do it for Sabrina Carpenter, who somehow has even less melody to work with off all the rickety drum machines, the by-the-numbers trap percussion, and whatever fragment of melody that gets dragged along the way. And in some cases, like the opener, In My Bed, for the hook, they actually seem to be stripping away interesting melody for a chopped up mess that sounds like an attempt to make a Zed song. And it keeps happening here too. The warped clunker of Take Off All Your Cool, the oily desaturation of Pushin' 20, the pianos and the snap beat of Take You Back. All these songs, they seem to believe that Sabrina Carpenter's vocals can carry a song without a stronger instrumental tune behind her, and it's absolutely the wrong fit. Hell, it's one reason why the closing song, Looking at Me, it could have kinda worked. The pulsating beat and the more prominent horde line might be trying to go for a Latin vibe that doesn't match what she is at all, but at least there's more of a tune to it. But this takes us to the content, and where again Sabrina Carpenter loses me in a big way, because I can't buy into her flighty rushes of ego whatsoever. See, swaggering arrogance, it can be a tough sell even for the best of artists. Hell, where Ariana Grande lost me on Thank You Next were the songs where she fed into that haughty LA party girl snobbery. And while the seeds of this were planted on Sabrina Carpenter's last album, they're just as evident and unlikable here. I'm already not fond of her choppy, undercooked writing style where she won't even try to rhyme the first few lines of her first song. Wood does not rhyme with gone, Sabrina. But when you get a song like Pushin' 20, where she says that she's got no time for others, even if she's referring to the over-projecting assholes, it's not a look I believe she can actively sell well. And similar attitudes run through songs like I Can't Stop Me, which is all about flossing and luxuriating in the LA party scene as she indulges guys who are bad for her. But even if the sole appeal of a song like this is living vicariously through that lens, is it really a good idea to embrace the whole I can't stop mentality that we last saw in We Can't Stop from Miley Cyrus in 2013, just minus the populism? But that ego trip doesn't go away either, from the capricious on and off again of I'm Fakin' to the ex-boyfriend kiss-off, where she runs through all the things that she's wasted and thinks she'd rather have a new pair of shoes on Taken Back, to the final song where she tries to get this guy to dance with her with the reassurance that nobody will care all that much about him because all the eyes will be looking at her. Again, it's not the ego that's the real problem. It's Sabrina Carpenter's inability to sell it or make it seem interesting or compelling. Maybe her target audience is absorbing this better, but to me it feels hollow and cheap and really self-serving. Even some of the love songs here have some of that same veneer, with Tellum focusing less on the connection she's got and more about how they shouldn't tell people, while acting like she totally wants to tell everything. And when we do get songs where she's trying to take a bit more of a breather, like Exhale, and process things like In My Bed, they don't really lead to any sort of revelation or insight or unique personality. I've heard this all before, but look, we're now 4 full-length albums in for Sabrina Carpenter. That's 2 more than Halsey and 2 more than Lorde, and it's hard for me to consider any of them as beyond vanity projects at this point. They don't add to the mainstream pop landscape in any significant way. The sound and delivery are by the numbers, the production's not good, the hooks are underwhelming, and none of the writing stands out in a particularly good way. Honestly, I question what this even adds if you're part of Sabrina Carpenter's fan base, because this album repeats a lot of similar ideas and arcs to the last project, but with a slightly updated sound. That's it! Even if we're looking at the sorry state of mainstream pop right now in 2019 on the Hot 100, there is more likable and unique personality and flair than what we get here, which, yes, might be slightly better than the last one. I'll give her that, but only barely, which is why I'm giving this a 5 out of 10, and it's only recommended to the fans. And even then, look, I gotta say it, y'all can do better. Otherwise, though, you're not missing anything. Move on. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. I know the fan base is going to come at me again with this, but look, if she had some more unique personality, if she was doing something distinctive with these songs that stood out from the crowd, if the only reason that these songs existed is because she's currently a TV actress and having some clout there, because otherwise, these songs would not move anywhere. And I guarantee the majority of you would not care about them. I gotta be honest there, that's a lot of what I'm seeing here. I see a cult of personality and little more. But hey, if that's too much and that just pisses you off, comments are down there. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. And the poll's there for y'all to tell me how wrong I am. And hey, if you want to buy or stream the album, links are also in the description down there. But hey, if you want to tell me in person, well, I'm going to be in Hamilton for Con Bravo the next upcoming weekend, so that should be a lot of fun, starting on Friday, ending on Sunday. Yeah, so if you guys want to see me there and confront me about this, can't imagine why you would, I would be happy to see you. Just come and say hi. Beyond that, if you're looking for the next episode of Billboard Breakdown, it's on the side channel. Anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.